Cole Whitaker sat at his kitchen table, staring at the bank statement spread before him. The numbers didn't add up. They hadn't added up for months. He pushed his reading glasses up his nose and ran a finger down the column of withdrawals. 200 here, 350 there. Cash advances he never made. His jaw tightened as he spotted another overdraft fee. Merrily, he called toward the living room. What? Her voice carried the edge it always held when he interrupted her phone calls. Can you come here for a minute? I'm busy. Cole folded the statement and walked to the doorway. Merrily sat on the couch, feet tucked under her, phone pressed to her ear. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled despite being home all day. New highlights. Those cost money too. I need to ask you about some charges, he said. Merrily held up one finger without looking at him. Janet. I know, right? Some people just don't appreciate what they have. Cole waited. The clock on the mantel ticked loud in the silence. After 45 seconds, he walked back to the kitchen. This was how it always went. He tried to talk about money, about the bills piling up, about Tessa's college expenses, and Merrily would find a way to make him a problem. He was too controlling, too cheap, too focused on work, but someone had to focus on work. Someone had to keep the lights on. Cole spread out 3 more statements. Credit cards he thought were paid off. A home equity line of credit he'd opened for emergencies. All maxed out. All showing minimum payments that barely covered interest. His phone buzzed. A text from his supervisor. Can you stay late tonight? Generator issue at the plant. Cole typed back. On my way, he gathered the statements and locked them in his desk drawer. No point trying to discuss this now. Merrily would be going out anyway. She always went out on Friday nights. Book club, she called it, though he'd never seen her read anything but gossip magazines. I have to work late, he announced. Okay. Merrily didn't look up from her phone. Cole grabbed his keys and work jacket. As he reached for the door handle, he heard Merrily's voice drop to a whisper. He just left. God, yes, I'm so ready to get away from this place. Cole's hand froze on the doorknob. He stood perfectly still, listening. Tomorrow night? Perfect. I'll tell him it's a work thing. He never asked questions anyway. The floorboards creaked under Cole's feet as he stepped back toward the living room. Merrily's voice went silent. Hello, she said into the phone. Hello. I think I lost you. Cole walked out the door without a word, like a T the plant. Cole lost himself in the familiar rhythm of troubleshooting. Voltage readings, pressure gauges, problems with clear solutions. Not like the mess waiting at home. His coworker Jimmy brought him coffee around 10. You look like hell, Cole. Thanks for the pep talk. I'm serious. When's the last time you took a day off? Cole shrugged. Someone's got to pay for Tessa's education. How's she doing anyway? Still giving you the cold shoulder? She blames me for everything. Too strict when she was growing up. Not supportive enough now. Can't win. Jimmy leaned against the control panel. You know what your problem is? You're too good to them. My ex-wife used to pull that same garbage. Spend all day doing nothing, then complain I wasn't romantic enough. Merrily's not like that. But even as Cole said it, he wondered if it was true. When was the last time she'd thanked him for anything? When was the last time she'd asked about his day, his work, his thoughts about anything? Cole's phone rang at 11:30. Tess. Dad. Hey, sweetheart. Everything okay? My car got declined. Again. I'm trying to buy groceries, and I look like an idiot standing here. Cole closed his eyes. How much do you need? Just like $50. I'll pay you back. You don't have to pay me back, Tess. You're my daughter. I know, Mom said you were being weird about money lately. Did she now? She said you were stressed about work and taking it out on everyone else. Cole felt something cold settle in his chest. When did she say that? I don't know. This week sometime. Look, can you just transfer the money? I've got people waiting behind me. Done. Cole pulled up his banking app and moved $50 to Tessa's account. Money he didn't have to spare. Thanks, Dad. The line went dead. No goodbye. No love you. Just thanks for the cash. Cole stared at his phone screen. His checking account balance stared back $247.83. Until payday, with a mortgage payment due Monday that he called the bank's automated line and listened to his balances. Checking, $247.83. Savings, $0. Credit cards, all maxed. Home equity, Maxed. Where had it all gone? Cole worked until 3 in the morning, then drove home through empty streets. The house was dark except for the porch light. Marilee's car sat in the driveway, but something felt different. Wrong. Inside, he found a wine glass in the sink. Lipstick on the rim. Not Marilee's shade. She preferred pinks. This was deep red that on the counter, a receipt from Romano's. The expensive Italian place downtown. Dinner for two. $127.43. Cole checked the date. Tonight. His hands shook as he put the receipt down. Marilee had been here when he left for work. Her car was here now, but she'd been at Romano's tonight. With someone else that he climbed the stairs quietly. The bedroom door was closed. He could hear Marilee's breathing, steady and deep. Sound asleep. Cole went to his office and opened his laptop. Their shared calendar showed nothing for tonight. No book club. No work event. Nothing. He opened their joint bank account. The Romano's charge was there, along with a dozen others from the past month he hadn't noticed. Restaurants he'd never been to. Stores he'd never shopped at. Gas stations across town. Cole sat back in his chair and stared at the screen. 23 years of marriage. 19 years of raising Tess. All of it built on what, exactly? He thought about the woman who used to wake up early to make him coffee before work. Who used to ask about his projects and listen to his answers. Who used to curl up next to him on the couch and watch old movies. When had that woman disappeared? And who was this stranger sleeping in her bed? Cole closed the laptop and walked to the window. Outside, the neighborhood slept peacefully. Other families in other houses dealing with their own problems. But somehow, standing there in the dark, Cole felt like the loneliest man in the world. The next evening, Cole stayed at the plant until nearly midnight. The generator repair had turned into a complete overhaul, and he welcomed the distraction. Numbers and circuits made sense. They followed rules. They didn't lie. Marilee had texted once. Working late again? Some of us have lives. Cole hadn't responded. The drive home took him through downtown Greensboro, past Romano's with its dimmed lights and empty parking lot. Past the bookstore where Marilee claimed to meet her book club every Friday. It had been closed for 6 months. Traffic was light. Just a few cars scattered across the 4 lanes of Market Street. Cole stopped at the red light at the intersection with Elm, drumming his fingers on the steering wheel. The radio played some old country song about cheating wives and lying hearts. He reached over to change the station. The impact came from his right side. 1 second, he was reaching for the radio dial. The next, his world exploded in twisted metal and breaking glass. His truck spun twice before slamming into a light pole. The airbag deployed, slamming into his chest like a punch from a heavyweight boxer. Cole tasted blood. His left leg screamed with pain. Through the spiderweb windshield, he saw steam rising from his crumpled hood. Sound came back slowly. His own breathing, harsh and labored. The hiss of escaping coolant. Shouting voices somewhere outside. Sir? Sir, can you hear me? A young woman's voice. Cole tried to turn his head, but pain shot down his neck. Don't move, the voice said. Paramedics are coming. The other car, Cole managed to say. What about it? Is the driver okay? A pause. Just worry about yourself right now. Cole closed his eyes. The dashboard lights blurred and swam. He could hear sirens in the distance, getting closer. Sir, I need you to stay awake. What's your name? Cole. Cole Whitaker. Okay, Cole. I'm Emma. I'm a nurse at Moses Cone. You're going to be fine, but I need you to keep talking to me. My wife. Need to call my wife. We'll take care of that. The police are here now. Through the haze of pain and shock, Cole heard new voices. Official voices. Radio chatter. Stolen vehicle. Driver fled on foot. Teenager, maybe 16. Gang colors. This the victim's truck? Yeah. Driver's conscious, but pretty banged up. Paramedics are loading him now. Cole felt himself being lifted onto a stretcher. The world tilted and spun. Emergency lights painted everything red and blue. Sir, we need an emergency contact, someone said. My wife, Marilee Whitaker. Cole recited the number. We'll call her from the hospital. The ambulance doors slammed shut. Cole lost consciousness somewhere between the intersection and the emergency room. He woke up floating on a cloud of morphine. The hospital room was white and sterile. Machines beeped steadily around him. His left leg was in a cast from ankle to hip. Bandages covered his ribs. His head felt like someone had used it for batting practice. A young man in scrubs stood by the window, writing on a clipboard. How long? Cole's voice came out as a croak. The nurse turned. Dark hair, kind eyes, name tag that read Dorian. You've been unconscious for about 6 hours. You're lucky, Mr. Whitaker. Could have been much worse. My family. Are they here? Dorian hesitated. Let me get the doctor. He'll want to talk to you about your injuries. Did my wife come? My daughter? Another pause. Dorian looked uncomfortable. I'll be right back. But Cole could read the answer in the nurse's face. He'd worked with enough people over the years to know when someone was avoiding bad news. Doctor Martinez explained the damage. Fractured tibia, 3 broken ribs, concussion, lots of bruising. He'd be in the hospital for at least a week, maybe 2. The good news is there's no internal bleeding, no brain swelling. You'll recover completely with time and physical therapy. When can I see my family? Dr. Martinez exchanged a look with Dorian. Mr. Whitaker, we called your emergency contact last night. Several times. And your wife said she'd be here as soon as possible. That was 8 hours ago. Cole stared at the ceiling. The morphine made everything feel distant and unreal, but this felt real enough. Maybe she's having car trouble. Maybe. Dr. Martinez didn't sound convinced. We'll keep trying to reach her. After the doctor left, Dorian returned with fresh water and pain medication. Can I ask you something? Cole said. Sure. When you called my wife, did she sound upset? Worried? Dorian sat down in the chair beside the bed. His face was serious. Mr. Whitaker, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but the nurse who called last night, she logged some notes in your file. What kind of notes? Your wife didn't sound surprised or worried, and there was someone in the background, a young woman, said something about going on a cruise. Cole felt the morphine haze lifting, replaced by cold clarity. What exactly did she say? Dorian looked around the room, then leaned closer. The nurse heard your wife say, and I quote, good. If that freeloader disappears, it'll finally be peaceful. The words hit Cole harder than the stolen car had. He closed his eyes and felt something break inside his chest. Not ribs this time. Something deeper. Mr. Whitaker, are you okay? Cole opened his eyes. When he spoke, his voice was steady. I need you to do me a favor. Of course. Don't call my wife again. If she shows up, tell her I was transferred to another hospital. Tell her you don't know where. Sir, I can't. Please. Cole looked directly at Dorian. I'm asking you to lie to my wife. I know how that sounds, but I need some time to think. Dorian studied Cole's face for a long moment. The nurse who made that call, she was pretty upset about what she heard. Said it didn't sound right. It wasn't right. Nothing about this is right. What do you need me to do? For the next 13 days, Cole lay in his hospital bed and planned his death. Not his actual death. That had been meant to happen on Market Street at the hands of a 16-year-old gang member driving a stolen Honda. But Cole Whitaker's death as a husband and father, that death he could control, Dorian proved to be an unexpected ally. Young, idealistic, and disgusted by what he'd witnessed in that phone call. He helped Cole navigate the hospital bureaucracy, finding loopholes and gray areas. Your wife called twice more, Dorian reported on day 3. Asked if you died yet. Not how you were doing. If you died, what did you tell her? That patient information couldn't be released over the phone. She'd have to come in person. She won't. Cole was right. Marilee never came. Tess called the hospital once on day 5. Dorian answered. Is my father dead? She asked without preamble. Who's asking? His daughter. Tess Whitaker. Look, just tell me if he's dead or alive. I've got plans this weekend. Dorian glanced at Cole, who shook his head. I'm sorry, but patient information can only be released to immediate family members who appear in person with valid identification. God, fine. Whatever. If he dies, somebody call me. The line went dead. Cole stared at the wall and felt the last of his old life slip away. His wife wanted him dead. His daughter couldn't be bothered to visit. The family he'd worked himself sick to support saw him as nothing more than a paycheck. And apparently, they preferred the paycheck without the man attached. On day 7, Cole asked Dorian to bring him a newspaper. He studied the obituaries, learning the language of death. Then he asked for a laptop. I need to handle some things online, he told Dorian. What kind of things? The kind that require me to be legally alive, but practically invisible. Cole started with his wedding ring. 23 years of marriage, reduced to a simple gold band that had cost him 2 weeks' salary back, when 2 weeks' salary was still measured in hundreds, not thousands. He worked it off his swollen finger and held it up to the light. I need you to sell this for me, he told Dorian. Mr. Whitaker, I can't. Cash only. Pawn shop, jewelry store, whatever. Just give me enough money for a deposit on an apartment. Dorian took the ring reluctantly. What are you planning? I'm planning to disappear. Completely. Can you help me or not? 2 days later, Dorian returned with $300 and a receipt from Cash America Pawn. They said it was worth more, but you needed quick cash. Perfect. Cole used the laptop to find a small apartment across town. Month-to-month lease. No credit check. The kind of place that catered to people who needed to start over quickly. He rented it under the name Clint Garrett, using a fake ID he'd ordered online. Amazing what you could buy with a stolen credit card number and a temporary email address. On day 10, Cole started walking. His leg was still in a cast, but he could manage short distances with crutches. He told the nurses he was going to physical therapy. Instead, he took the hospital shuttle to the nearby mall and bought new clothes. Cheap jeans, plain t-shirts, a baseball cap to hide his face. He also bought scissors and hair dye. Back in his hospital room that night, Cole locked the bathroom door and cut off his hair. Then he dyed what was left from brown to black. The man in the mirror looked like a stranger. Good that on day 13, Cole Whitaker checked himself out of Moses Cone Hospital against medical advice. He signed the discharge papers with his left hand, making his signature illegible. The hospital staff protested, but they couldn't legally hold him. Dorian met him in the parking lot. You sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. What if your family comes looking for you? Cole leaned on his crutches and looked back at the hospital. They won't. But if they do, you never saw me after I was transferred to Duke University Hospital. And if they call Duke, Duke will have no record of Cole Whitaker. Because Cole Whitaker is dead. Dorian drove him to his new apartment. It was a small, rundown complex on the south side of town. The kind of place where people minded their own business and paid rent in cash. This is really what you want? Dorian asked as they sat in the parking lot. Cole looked up at his new home. Unit 23B. Second floor. 1 bedroom, 1 bath. No wife. No daughter. No family photos or shared memories. Nothing but space to think and plan. You know what I want? Cole said. I want to see what happens to my family when the money stops coming. I want to watch them scramble and panic and blame everyone but themselves. And then I want them to know it was their choice. That sounds like revenge. That sounds like justice. Dorian helped him carry his few belongings upstairs. A duffel bag of clothes. The laptop. A small box of medical supplies. I should probably ask what you're planning to do, Dorian said. Probably you shouldn't. They shook hands at the door. Cole watched Dorian drive away, then locked himself inside his new life. The apartment was furnished with the basics. A bed, a couch, a small dining table. Everything was brown or beige. Everything was anonymous. Cole sat down at the table and opened a laptop. He had work to do. First, he erased Cole Whitaker from the digital world. Social media accounts deleted. Email addresses deactivated. Online banking profile scrubbed. He left just enough of a footprint to keep automatic bill payments flowing, but removed any way for someone to track his current activities. Then he started watching. Cole created new accounts under different names. He hacked into his old home's Wi-Fi network and accessed the smart home devices he'd installed over the years. Security cameras, audio recorders, smart thermostats that logged when people came and went. The technology he'd used to keep his family safe now let him spy on them. And what he saw made him sick. Cole spent his first week as Clint Garrett learning to hate his wife. The security cameras showed him everything. Marilee wasn't grieving. She was celebrating. The day after Cole disappeared from the hospital, she threw a party. Called it a girls' night, but Graham Nash was there. The man from her old high school, now running some supplement business that was probably a pyramid scheme. Cole watched them through his laptop screen. Marilee wore a red dress he'd never seen before. Expensive. She laughed at Graham's jokes and touched his arm when she talked. They drank wine that cost more than Cole spent on groceries in a month. To new beginnings, Marilee said, raising her glass. To freedom, Graham replied. They kissed on Cole's couch, in Cole's living room, drinking Cole's wine. But the real betrayal was in the numbers. Cole accessed their joint financial accounts and found a systematic theft that took his breath away. Credit cards opened in his name. Applications submitted with forged signatures. Cards he'd never seen, with bills sent to a P.O. box he'd never opened. 5 different cards. All maxed out. Total debt, $47,000. The home equity line of credit told an even worse story. $31,000 withdrawn over 6 months. Small amounts at first. $500 here, $1,000 there. Then bigger chunks as Marilee got bolder. All spent on what? Cole traced the transactions. Spa treatments, designer clothes, trips to Myrtle Beach and Charlotte. Cash advances that disappeared without explanation. But the worst discovery was Tess. Cole found a student loan application in his daughter's name. Federal aid she'd applied for without telling him. The application listed Cole as deceased, Marilee as unemployed, and claimed severe financial hardship. Tess had used his social security number to verify the information. Identity theft, federal fraud, all to get an extra $15,000 in loans she didn't need because Cole was already paying her tuition. Cole printed out every document, every transaction, every lie his family had told in his name. The evidence stack grew to 4 inches thick. He was methodical about it. Engineer precise. Each page labeled and dated. Each forgery highlighted in yellow. Each theft documented with bank statements and credit reports. His family had stolen from him systematically, but they'd been sloppy about covering their tracks. Probably because they never expected him to be alive to find out. On day 8 of his new life, Cole drove past his old house. Marilee's car was gone, but there was a red Mustang in the driveway. Graham's car. At 11 in the morning on a Tuesday, Cole parked 3 houses down and watched through binoculars he'd bought at a pawn shop. Graham came out 2 hours later, adjusting his belt and laughing about something. Marilee appeared in the doorway, wearing a silk robe. Cole's silk robe. The one Tess had given him for Father's Day 3 years ago. They kissed goodbye like teenagers. Like people who'd been sneaking around for months and were tired of hiding. Cole drove away before he did something stupid. Like march up to the door and confront them. That would ruin everything. He had a better plan. Cole called his cousin Jude from a pay phone outside a gas station in Asheville. He hadn't spoken to Jude in 2 years, but blood was blood. And Jude Whitaker was the only family member who'd ever seen through Marilee's act. Well, I'll be damned, Jude said when he heard Cole's voice. I heard you were dead. Where'd you hear that? Your wife called last week. Said you'd been killed in a car accident. Asked if I wanted to come to the funeral. Did you? Hell no. I told her I wouldn't piss on her if she was on fire. What's this really about, Cole? Cole told him everything. The accident. The phone call. The theft. The affair. Jude listened without interrupting, which was unusual for him. So you faked your death to spy on your cheating wife, Jude said when Cole finished. That's either the smartest thing you've ever done or the craziest. Maybe both. What do you need from me? A place to stay while I figure this out. Somewhere off the grid. Jude owned a small garage outside Asheville. Fixed trucks and farm equipment for people who paid in cash and didn't ask questions. He lived in a double-wide behind the shop, but there was a small apartment above the garage that he rented to drifters and seasonal workers. You can have the apartment, Jude said, but I want to know what you're planning. I'm planning to take back everything they stole, plus interest, and then I'm planning to watch their world burn. Cole drove to Asheville that afternoon. The mountain air felt cleaner than anything he'd breathed in years. Jude's garage sat on 5 acres of gravel and weeds, surrounded by rusted car parts and broken-down trucks. It looked like the kind of place where people minded their own business. Jude met him outside the garage. 50 years old, built like a prizefighter, tattoos covering both arms. He'd done 2 tours in Afghanistan before coming home to fix engines and drink beer. He was the only member of Cole's family who'd ever told Marilee exactly what he thought of her. You look like shit, Jude said by way of greeting. Thanks. I feel worse. Good. Means you're still alive. Come on, let me show you the apartment. The space above the garage was small but clean. One room with a bed, a desk, a kitchenette, and a bathroom. Windows that looked out over the mountains. Everything Cole needed to disappear completely. Rent's $300 a month, Jude said. That include utilities and internet. And privacy. Nobody comes up here without my permission. Deal. Cole paid him 6 months in advance. Cash from the sale of his wedding ring. Now tell me the real plan, Jude said. They sat on the back porch of Jude's trailer, drinking beer and watching the sun set behind the mountains. Cole laid out his strategy like he was briefing a team of engineers. First, I pull all the financial levers. Stop the automatic payments. Cancel the insurance. Let the bills pile up. That'll hurt your credit. My credit's already destroyed. They maxed out everything in my name. Let them deal with the consequences. Then what? Then I transfer everything I can legally access to accounts they can't touch. My 401k. My personal savings. The life insurance policy that lists me as the beneficiary. You can do that. I'm not legally dead. Just missing. Big difference. Jude nodded slowly. And the house. Joint ownership. But if Marilee can't make the payments, the bank will foreclose. She'll lose everything. What about your daughter? Cole's jaw tightened. Tess made her choice. She stole from me same as Marilee did. She can live with the consequences. They drank in silence for a while. Finally, Jude spoke up. You sure you want to do this? Once you start, there's no going back. Cole thought about the phone call. About watching Graham Nash kiss his wife in his own house. About Tess asking if he was dead like she was checking the weather. I'm already dead to them, he said. Time to make it official. Cole spent 3 weeks setting up his financial warfare campaign. He opened new bank accounts in different cities, using his legal name and documentation proving he was alive. He transferred his 401k to a self-directed IRA that Marilee couldn't access. He moved his personal savings to a credit union in Charlotte. Then he stopped paying the bills. The mortgage payment bounced first. Cole watched through the security cameras as Marilee found the notice taped to their front door. She ripped it off and stormed inside, cell phone already pressed to her ear. What do you mean insufficient funds? She screamed at some poor bank employee. We have automatic payments set up. Cole had canceled the automatic payment 3 days earlier. The car payments bounced next. Both vehicles financed in Cole's name, both now 30 days past due. Marilee's BMW and Tessa's Honda. The finance companies started calling within a week. Cole watched Marilee pace around the living room, fielding calls from creditors. She'd gone from confident celebration to barely controlled panic in less than a month. There has to be a mistake, she kept saying. My husband's insurance policy should have covered everything. But there was no insurance payout. Cole wasn't dead, so the life insurance company wasn't paying. And the accident insurance was tied to Cole's employment, which ended when he stopped showing up to work. Cole had simply vanished from the system. The credit card companies were less patient than the mortgage bank. They wanted their money, and they wanted it now. $47,000 in total debt, spread across 5 cards that Marilee had opened illegally. Cole recorded every phone call through the smart home system. Angry voices demanding payment. Marilee claiming she knew nothing about the cards. Threats of legal action. This is identity theft. Marilee shouted at one collection agent. Someone forged my husband's signature. Ma'am, according to our records, you're listed as an authorized user on this account. You made purchases as recently as last week. That's impossible. But it wasn't impossible. Cole had the receipts. $500 at the spa. $800 at Nordstrom. $1,200 at a jewelry store in Charlotte. All charged to cards in his name, all signed by Marilee. The pressure built slowly, then all at once. Tess called home during the second week of Cole's campaign. Mom, my card got declined again, she said through the security camera's audio feed. And I got a letter from the financial aid office. They want to review my FAFSA application. What kind of review? Something about inconsistent information. They're asking for proof that Dad is dead. Marilee went quiet for a long moment. I'll handle it. How? You said he died in a car accident, but the hospital has no record of him dying. And his job says he just stopped showing up. None of this makes sense. I said I'll handle it. But Marilee couldn't handle it. She tried to sell Cole's truck, but the title was in his name only. She tried to access his 401k, but he'd changed the beneficiary information. She tried to file a death certificate, but the police had no record of Cole dying in the accident. Graham Nash started coming around less often. Cole watched their relationship deteriorate through the security cameras. Arguments about money. Graham demanding to know where Cole's life insurance payout was. Marilee promising him that everything would work out. You said he was dead, Graham said during one particularly heated argument. You said we'd have his insurance money and could start over somewhere new. He is dead. He has to be dead. Then where's his body? Where's the death certificate? Where's the money? Cole smiled from his apartment in Asheville. His plan was working perfectly. Tess broke first. Cole watched through the security cameras as two men in suits knocked on their front door. Federal agents investigating the fraudulent FAFSA application. They had documentation showing that Tess had claimed her father was deceased while he was still legally alive. Marilee tried to explain, but her story fell apart under questioning. No death certificate. No funeral home records. No insurance claims. Just a missing husband and a daughter who'd lied on federal financial aid forms. They arrested Tess at the house. Cole watched his daughter get handcuffed on his own front porch while his wife screamed at the agents about wrongful prosecution. Tess spent 2 days in county jail before Marilee could scrape together bail money. She came home angry and scared, demanding answers that Marilee couldn't provide. Where is he? Tess screamed. If Dad is really dead, where's his body? Why won't anyone believe us? He has to be dead. Marilee shot back. He was in that accident. I saw the police report, but he's not dead. His accounts are still active. Someone's been moving money around. The FBI thinks I'm part of some insurance scam. Cole could hear the panic in both their voices. Good. They were starting to understand what it felt like to have your life fall apart through no fault of your own. 2 weeks later, Tess's car was repossessed. Cole watched from across the street as the tow truck driver loaded her Honda onto his flatbed. Tess ran outside in her pajamas, crying and begging them to stop. I can pay, she shouted. My dad will pay. He always pays. But Cole wasn't paying anymore. He was done being their personal ATM. That night, Tess called Cole's old cell phone number. The number had been disconnected for weeks, but she kept trying anyway. Cole monitored the attempts through the phone company's online portal. 17 missed calls. Dozens of text messages. Dad, please call me, that I know you're out there, that I'm sorry about what Mom said. Please don't do this to us, that I'll pay back the loan money. Just please come home. Cole read each message and felt nothing. Too little, too late, but then Tess got creative. She borrowed a friend's phone and called every hospital in North Carolina, looking for Cole Whitaker. She called morgues. She called the DMV. She called everyone except the one place where she could have found him. The garage apartment in Asheville where he sat watching her destroy herself with panic. Finally, she called Cole directly. The phone Jude had given him rang at 11:30 on a Wednesday night. Unknown number with a local area code. Cole almost didn't answer. Hello, Dad. Tess's voice was small and scared. Nothing like the confident college student who demanded grocery money just 2 months earlier. Who is this? Don't pretend you don't know my voice. It's me. It's Tess. Cole sat up in his chair. Tess is my daughter. My daughter wouldn't steal $15,000 in my name. Silence on the other end. Then quiet crying. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I didn't think you'd find out. You didn't think I'd find out that you committed federal fraud? That you used my social security number to steal money from the government? It wasn't supposed to be stealing. I was going to pay it back. With what money? You've never had a job in your life. I was going to pay it back with the money you gave me. Like an allowance. Cole laughed, but there was no humor in it. So you were going to steal my money to pay back the money you stole in my name? That's your plan? I was scared, okay? Mom said you were being weird about money and that college was expensive and maybe I should find other ways to pay for it. So this was your mother's idea. She didn't tell me to lie on the forms. That was my decision. But she said you'd never find out and that you were too cheap to pay for a good school anyway. Cole felt something cold and final settle in his chest. His own daughter, calling him cheap, lying about his death for money. Where are you now, Tess? At school. But I might get kicked out. They froze my accounts because of the investigation. I can't pay for anything. I can't even eat. Good. What? I said good. Maybe hunger will teach you the value of money. Something I clearly failed to do. Dad, please. I know you're angry, but I'm your daughter. You can't just abandon me. I can't abandon you. Cole's voice rose. You told the federal government I was dead. You stole my identity. You celebrated when you thought I might actually be dead. And now you want me to feel sorry for you. I never celebrated. I heard the phone call, Tess. The night of my accident. I heard you say you were going on a cruise. I heard your mother say it would be peaceful if I disappeared. You both wanted me gone. Tess went quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. We didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? I don't know. We were just frustrated. You were always working, always stressed about money, always making us feel guilty for spending anything. I was working to pay for your life. Everything you had, I provided, and you resented me for it. We didn't resent you. Really? When's the last time you thanked me for anything? When's the last time you asked about my day? When's the last time you acted like you were glad to have me as a father? Cole could hear Tess crying on the other end of the line. I don't know, she admitted. I do. It's been years, Tess. Years since you treated me like anything more than a source of money. So congratulations. You got what you wanted. I'm gone. But I need help. I can't do this alone. You should have thought of that before you committed fraud in my name. What do you want me to do? Cole considered the question. What did he want her to do? Apologize? Beg? Promise to change? None of that would undo the betrayal. None of that would give him back the family he'd thought he had. I want you to learn what it's like to live without someone else paying for everything, he said finally. I want you to get a job. I want you to pay your own bills. I want you to understand what I've been doing for the past 19 years while you took it all for granted. And then you'll forgive me? Cole was quiet for a long moment. Outside his window, the North Carolina mountains stretched away into darkness. Peaceful, silent, free. No, he said, I won't forgive you. Some things can't be forgiven. He hung up the phone and turned it off. Cole learned about his own memorial service through Facebook. He was monitoring Marilee's social media accounts when the event appeared, celebrating the life of Cole Whitaker. The date was set for Saturday afternoon. The location was his own backyard. The description made his stomach turn. Join us as we remember Cole and celebrate the love and joy he brought into our lives. Casual dress, light refreshments provided, celebrating the love and joy. Like he was a family pet who'd wandered off and died. Cole scrolled through the guest list. 43 people had said they were attending. Neighbors he'd helped with yard work. Co-workers who'd borrowed his tools. His brother Mark, driving down from Virginia. People who actually cared about him mixed in with people who just wanted free food and gossip. The comments made it worse. So sorry for your loss, Marilee. Cole was a good man. Can't believe he's gone. He fixed my lawnmower just last month. Thinking of you and Tess during this difficult time. Marilee responded to each comment with practiced grief. Thank you for your kind words. Cole would have wanted us to celebrate, not mourn. Cole would have wanted a lot of things. Starting with a wife who didn't celebrate his disappearance that he drove to Greensboro on Saturday morning. The memorial service was scheduled to start at 2. Cole planned to arrive at 3. When everyone was properly relaxed and unsuspecting, he parked 3 blocks away and walked to the house. His house. The house he'd paid for with 20 years of overtime and sacrifice. The grass needed cutting. The shutters needed painting. Maintenance tasks that had always fallen to him. Cole could hear voices in the backyard. Laughter. Music. The sound of people having a good time at his own funeral. He walked around to the side gate and looked through the slats. About 30 people mingled on the patio. Tables loaded with food. A makeshift bar set up near the pool. Graham Nash was working the grill, playing host like he owned the place. Marilee stood near the back door wearing a black dress that showed too much cleavage for a memorial service. She held a wine glass and smiled at something one of the neighbors was saying. Grief-stricken widow Cole's brother Mark stood apart from the others, looking uncomfortable. He'd never liked Marilee, and this whole party atmosphere clearly bothered him. Mark had driven 6 hours to pay respects to his dead brother and found a cocktail party instead. Tess was there too, home from college for the memorial. She looked thin and stressed, dark circles under her eyes. The federal investigation had taken its toll. Cole watched them all for 10 minutes. His family, his friends, his neighbors, all of them gathered to remember a man who was standing 20 feet away, invisible behind a wooden fence. Then he opened the gate and walked into his own memorial service. The first person to see him was Mrs. Patterson from next door. She dropped her plate of potato salad and screamed. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. Someone's drink shattered on the concrete. Cole walked through the crowd like Moses parting the Red Sea. People stepped back, mouths open, staring at the dead man who just crashed his own funeral. Marilee saw him last. She was mid-sentence, telling someone a story about Cole's final days, when the conversation around her died to silence. She turned to see what everyone was looking at. The wine glass slipped from her fingers and exploded on the patio. "Hello, Marilee," Cole said. His voice carried clearly in the sudden quiet. "Nice party. Sorry I'm late." Marilee's face went through a series of expressions. Shock, fear, confusion, finally settling on the desperate smile she used when caught in a lie. "Cole, oh my God, where have you been? We thought you were dead. Did you now?" Cole looked around at the gathering, at the people who'd come to mourn him, at the memorial banner hanging from his own house. "This doesn't look like mourning to me. This looks like a celebration." Graham Nash stepped forward, still holding a spatula from the grill. "Look, man, we can explain." "Can you?" Cole's attention fixed on Graham like a laser. "Explain what exactly? Explain why you're grilling burgers at my memorial service? Explain why you're playing house with my wife? Or explain why you thought I was conveniently dead?" The crowd started murmuring. People pulling out phones, recording video. This was going to be all over social media within an hour. Mark pushed through the crowd and grabbed Cole's shoulder. "Jesus Christ, Cole, where the hell have you been? Do you know what you've put us through? Put you through?" Cole shook off his brother's hand. "I've been in the hospital, then recovering, watching my loving family mourn my tragic loss." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a thick manila envelope. "Marilee, I have something for you." She backed away like he was holding a snake. "Cole, I can explain everything. I thought you were dead. The hospital said I was transferred. You never bothered to find out where." Cole opened the envelope and pulled out the first set of papers. "Divorce papers," he announced to the crowd, citing irreconcilable differences in adultery. He handed them to Marilee, who took them with shaking hands. "Also," Cole continued, pulling out more documents, "a lawsuit for identity theft, credit fraud, and wire fraud. Turns out forging someone's signature on credit card applications is a federal crime." Who knew? The murmuring in the crowd got louder. People were backing toward the exits now, sensing that this party was about to become a crime scene. Cole pulled out the final set of papers and held them up for everyone to see. "And this is a criminal complaint I filed with the state attorney general's office. Something about filing false death benefit claims and insurance fraud." Marilee's legs gave out. She sat down hard on one of the patio chairs, still clutching the divorce papers. "You can't do this," she whispered. "I'm your wife." "You were my wife," Cole corrected, "right up until you decided I'd be worth more dead than alive." Graham Nash had been edging toward the back gate, but Cole's voice stopped him. "Going somewhere, Graham. This is between you and your wife, man. I'm not part of this." Cole laughed. "You're not part of this? You've been sleeping in my bed, eating my food, spending my money. You're definitely part of this." Cole reached into his pocket again and pulled out his phone. He pressed play on a video file. Graham's voice filled the backyard. "You said he was dead. You said we'd have his insurance money and could start over somewhere new." And Marilee's response: "He is dead. He has to be dead. Audio and video surveillance from my smart home system," Cole explained to the crowd. Amazing what technology can do these days. The divorce proceedings took 4 months. The criminal trials took 8. Cole hired the best attorney he could afford with the money he'd hidden from Marilee's theft. A sharp woman named Patricia Webb who specialized in white-collar crime and took a particular interest in cases involving financial abuse. "Your wife was systematic about this," Patricia explained during their first meeting. "This wasn't impulse spending. This was a calculated plan to drain your assets while maintaining plausible deniability. The evidence was overwhelming. Bank records showing 5 fraudulent credit cards, forged signatures on loan applications, video evidence of adultery, audio recordings of Marilee and Graham discussing Cole's supposed death and their plans for his insurance money. Marilee hired a public defender for the criminal charges and a cut-rate divorce attorney who specialized in hopeless cases. Her defense strategy seemed to be claim ignorance and hope for sympathy. It didn't work. The first trial was for credit card fraud. 5 felony counts, 1 for each card Marilee had opened using Cole's forged signature. The prosecution played audio recordings of Marilee making purchases on the cards, proving she knew they existed and was using them deliberately. Graham Nash testified against her in exchange for immunity. He admitted to their affair and confirmed that Marilee had told him about the credit cards months before Cole's accident. She said Cole was too cheap to let her spend money on nice things, Graham testified. So she found a way to spend it anyway. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. The second trial was for wire fraud based on the fake death benefit claims Marilee had filed with Cole's employer, an insurance company. She'd submitted forged death certificates and tried to collect over $100,000 in benefits for a man who wasn't dead. This trial took 3 days. Marilee's attorney tried to argue that she genuinely believed Cole was dead and was acting in good faith. But the prosecution had recordings of her discussing the fraud with Graham, including her admission that she knew Cole wasn't really dead. Another guilty verdict. The judge called it a brazen attempt to profit from an elaborate deception. Tessa's trial was separate in federal court. She'd pled guilty to financial aid fraud in exchange for a reduced sentence, 5 years probation, and full restitution of the illegally obtained loan money. During her sentencing hearing, Tess tried to apologize. "I was young and stupid," she told the judge. "I made a terrible mistake, and I've learned from it." Cole sat in a gallery and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no forgiveness, just the cold certainty that his daughter was lying. Again, she wasn't sorry for committing fraud. She was sorry for getting caught. The divorce trial was almost anticlimactic after the criminal proceedings. Marilee was facing 8 years in federal prison. Her ability to fight for assets was limited by her impending incarceration. Cole got everything. The house, which he sold immediately. The cars, which he also sold. Full restitution for all the stolen money, plus interest and penalties. Clean credit restoration. And a restraining order preventing Marilee from contacting him for 10 years. Patricia Webb shook his hand outside the courthouse after the final hearing. "I've been practicing law for 20 years, she said. "I've never seen a more complete victory in a case like this." "It doesn't feel like victory," Cole admitted. "What does it feel like?" Cole looked back at the courthouse where his wife and daughter had just been sentenced for stealing from him. "Justice," he said finally. "It feels like justice." Tess called him 6 months later. Cole was living in Asheville permanently by then, helping Jude expand a garage and volunteering at a community center that taught trade skills to men trying to get their lives back together. His phone rarely rang, which was how he liked it. "Dad," he almost hung up. He'd been clear that he wanted no contact with her. But something in her voice stopped him. "What do you want, Tess?" "I'm getting out of the work program next week. I wanted to see you before I move away." "Move where?" "California. I got a job at a call center. It's not much, but it's honest work." Cole said nothing. "I know you don't want to see me," Tess continued. "I know you'll probably never forgive me. But I need to try to explain." "Explain what?" "Why I did what I did. Why I was so awful to you." Cole almost said no. Almost told her there was nothing to explain and nothing to forgive. But curiosity won out. "One conversation," he said. "Public place. Then we're done." They met at a park in downtown Asheville. Tess looked different. Thinner. Older. She'd cut her hair short and wore clothes from a thrift store instead of the designer outfits Cole used to buy her. "You look good, Dad," she said when she saw him. "You look broke." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I am broke. Completely. I'm living in a studio apartment with 2 roommates. I eat ramen noodles for every meal. I take the bus everywhere. Welcome to how most people live." They sat on a bench overlooking the French Broad River. For a few minutes, neither spoke. "I've been thinking about what you said," Tess finally began. "About how I never thank you for anything. About how I treated you like an ATM instead of a father. And you were right. I can't remember the last time I said thank you for anything. I just expected you to pay for everything and resented you when you complained about money." Cole watched the river flow past. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want you to know that I understand now. What's like to work for minimum wage? What's like to count every dollar? What's like to be tired all the time and worried about bills? Good for you. I'm not asking for forgiveness," Tess said quickly. "I know what I did was unforgivable. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand what you went through all those years." Cole turned to look at his daughter. Really look at her. The entitled college girl was gone. This person sitting next to him looked like someone who'd learned hard lessons through harder experience. "What do you want from me, Tess?" "Nothing. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. And to explain." "There's nothing to explain. Please, just let me try." Tess's voice cracked. "I was just copying Mom. I didn't know what I was doing." Cole reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "What's that?" Tess asked. He handed it to her without a word. "That's a list of every night I came home exhausted and still check your homework. Every birthday, I save to give you something decent. You spat on all of it." Tess took the folded paper with trembling hands, but Cole was already standing up. Cole stood up from the bench. The conversation was over. "I hope California works out for you," he said. "I hope you learn to be the person you used to be before you learned to be selfish." "Will I ever see you again?" Cole considered the question. His daughter sat on the bench, looking broken and sorry and very young. Part of him wanted to forgive her, wanted to give her another chance, wanted to believe people could really change. But a bigger part of him remembered the phone call, the fraud, the years of being treated like an inconvenience. Some betrayals were too deep to heal. "No," he said. "You won't see you again." He walked away and didn't look back. Behind him, Tess unfolded the paper with shaking hands. She stared down at it for a long moment, then let out a broken sob. The letter was completely blank. 2 years later, Cole Whitaker was a different man, that he still lived in the apartment above Jude's garage, but he'd made it his own. Books on the shelves, plants on the windowsills, photos of mountains and sunsets instead of family portraits. The garage had grown into a successful business. Cole's engineering background helped them take on more complex jobs. Fleet maintenance for local trucking companies. Custom fabrication work. They'd hired 2 full-time mechanics and were looking at expanding to a second location. Cole taught classes 3 nights a week at the community center. Basic automotive repair for men trying to get back on their feet. Former addicts. Ex-convicts. Guys who'd lost everything and were trying to rebuild. "The thing about engines," he told his students, "is they're honest. You treat them right, they run. You neglect them, they break. No lies, no hidden agendas, just cause and effect." His students liked that philosophy. Most of them had been lied to and betrayed enough for one lifetime. They appreciated working with something that followed clear rules. Cole had rules too. No contact with his old life. No social media. No looking backward. The man who'd been married to Marilee Whitaker and raised Tess Whitaker was dead. Cole had buried him in the mountains of North Carolina and moved on. He got news occasionally through Jude, who still talked to family members in Greensboro. Marilee had served 18 months in federal prison and been released to a halfway house. Tess had dropped out of sight completely after moving to California. Cole's brother Mark asked about him sometimes, but Jude always said he didn't know where Cole was. Cole was fine with that. The fewer connections to his past, the better. That on a Tuesday morning in October, Cole was teaching a young man named Danny how to rebuild a carburetor when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. "This is Cole. Mr. Whitaker? This is Patricia Webb, your attorney." Cole stepped outside the garage. "What can I do for you, Patricia? I have some news about your ex-wife. She violated her parole last month. Used someone else's credit card to buy groceries. She's back in prison. How long? 3 years minimum. Looks like she didn't learn her lesson the first time." Cole felt nothing. No satisfaction. No sympathy. Just a mild interest in the information. "Thanks for letting me know. There's something else. Your daughter tried to contact you through my office." Cole's hand tightened on the phone. What did she want? She wanted me to tell you that she's been clean and sober for 6 months. She's working as a nurse's aide in San Diego. She's getting married next year to a man who doesn't know about her criminal record. And she wanted you to know that she thinks about you every day. That she understands now why you can't forgive her. That she doesn't blame you for cutting her out of your life. Cole looked out at the mountains surrounding Asheville. 2 years ago, he'd been a different person living a different life. Married to a woman who'd stolen from him. Father to a daughter who'd betrayed him. Working himself to death for people who saw him as nothing but a source of money. Now he was free. No obligations except the ones he chose. No family except the one he'd built with Jude and the men at the community center. No past except the one he'd created for himself. Tell her I hope she has a good life, Cole said finally. Is that all? That's all. Cole hung up the phone and walked back into the garage. Danny was still working on the carburetor, his tongue sticking out in concentration. You're getting it, Cole told him. Nice and steady. Don't force anything. It started to make sense, Danny said. The way all the parts work together. That's the key. Understanding how everything connects. Once you see the whole system, the individual parts make sense. Cole picked up a wrench and went back to work. Outside, the North Carolina mountains stretched away in all directions, vast and peaceful and free. He had a business to run, students to teach, a life to live. The past was dead and buried. The future belonged to him.